Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into a topic that honestly is on pretty much every parent's mind these days. How in the world do we handle our kids' sprawling digital lives?
So, let's start by thinking about this whole thing as a digital playground, right? It's this huge, amazing place with all sorts of fun and learning. But, and this is the big but, unlike a real-life playground, this one often has no fences, no adult supervision, and, a lot of hidden dangers. And yeah, those risks, they're becoming pretty darn clear. Get this, a staggering 50% of kids are already showing signs of phone addiction. And that's a huge deal because, they don't have the same defenses we do as adults. It can really lead to some serious problems later on.
So that brings us right to the core question, the one we're all asking. This digital playground, it's not just some side activity anymore, is it? It's become a central hub of their childhood. So how do we make it a place where they can actually be safe to explore and just be kids?
For the longest time, this whole playground has been like the Wild West, with very few rules. We've all been worried about screen time, right? But the really big issues have been kind of bubbling under the surface. Things like, who's actually collecting our kids' data? Is their privacy being protected at all? Are they really safe?
Okay, but here's the good news. Things are actually starting to change. The digital playground is finally getting a huge safety upgrade. We're talking a brand new set of rules for all the companies running things in there.
So, the Federal Trade Commission just announced the first major update in over a decade to the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. You've probably heard of it. It's called COPPA. And these new rules, they're all about dragging online child safety into the, modern world.
So what's actually new here? Well, one of the biggest changes is how they define personal information. It's way broader now. The rules finally get that there are a ton more ways to identify a kid online than just, their name or email.
And this really shows you how the rules are playing catch-up with technology. We're not just talking about photos or location data anymore. The definition now specifically calls out biometric identifiers. Think about it. Face scans, voice prints, even fingerprints. All that stuff is now officially protected.
The rules also get into this tricky gray area of mixed audience apps. The ones, games or platforms that kids and adults use. Well, those apps can't just pretend they don't have kids using them anymore. They now have to use what's called neutral age screening, basically asking for a birth date instead of just a simple "Are you over 13?" checkmark, so they can identify the kids and give them the right protections.
All right, so what does all this mean for the actual apps and games our kids are using every single day? Let's break it down.
Okay, this next one is a huge deal. Parental consent. The old way? You'd click one little box, and that could give an app permission to do pretty much anything with your kid's data, even share it with other companies. But the new way? Now, apps have to get your separate permission before they can give that data to third parties, like advertisers. That is a massive shift, and it puts the control right back where it belongs, with you.
And really, the bottom line here is accountability. App developers can't just collect data and hoard it forever anymore. Nope. They now have to create a written data security program. They have to publish a policy on how long they keep data. And they can only hold on to a child's info for as long as they actually need it for a specific reason. No more indefinite data hoarding. So, think of these new rules like big, clear safety signs being posted at the entrance of the digital playground. It's a fantastic step forward for sure, but it doesn't replace us, the parents. We still need to be the active supervisors. So let's talk about your parent playbook for this new landscape.
Okay, your first line of defense is probably in your hand or your pocket right now. Seriously, both Apple's Screen Time and Google's Family Link are these super powerful and totally free tools. You can use them to set daily limits for apps, block new installs until you approve them, and even schedule downtime when certain apps are just off.
But, setting limits is just one part of the equation. That's kind of like playing defense. The other part is playing offense. Proactively guiding our kids to safer play areas in the digital world. I'm talking about apps that were built from day one with kid safety in mind.
So here's a quick look at 3 popular apps that do things a little differently. They each have their own approach to safety. You've got Zigazoo, which is all about human moderators reviewing content. Then there's Kinzu, which creates this totally closed-off network just for your family and friends. And Messenger Kids, which lets parents manage the contact list and set controls.
Let's just pause on that Zigazoo feature for a second. The idea of having a human being review every video, that's a total game changer. It means a real person is looking at the content, and if it's not appropriate, it gets taken down before your kid ever lays eyes on it. That's huge.
And here's a perfect example of how you can put these digital boundaries into action. Let's take Messenger Kids. Right from your own Facebook app, you can go in and set sleep mode. You just pick the days and times you want the app to be off, like during homework or at bedtime. It's a super simple, super practical way to help your kid disconnect.
So look, these new FTC rules are, without a doubt, a massive step in the right direction for protecting our kids online. But they're a tool, right? They're not the whole solution. They give us as parents way more control and insight, but they don't and they can't replace our involvement. So that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about. The rules of the digital playground have gotten a whole lot better, so how are we going to evolve our digital parenting to match?